Okay, so although your film is advertised as a surrealist comedy, it still caught me by surprise. I'm more of a mainstream sort of girl, so it was just really bombastic, but a very happy experience. Something between like Czech comedies and maybe Danish ones like Adam's Apple. Was this what you were trying to get to? Or is this a type of maybe style that would be typical for an Italian comedy?
Well, it's not typical at all for Italian movies, I would say, not only comedy. And I would not say maybe it's a comedy, or maybe it could be, but in any case, I think it's more a fairy tale, you know. It's, what I'm trying to do is to write this story from the point of view of a little child, that for faith, for his destiny, was born in jail. So, and the only point of view of a child is the point of view of a fairy tale. So that world to him is like a world that doesn't exist, with any time, no, a place in any time, place in no space, let's say. And for that reason, I think that this coming of age is a more a fairy tale than a comedy or a dramedy or something like that. But then again, I think it's quite unusual for Italian cinema, and maybe it's something that you can reconnect maybe with some Northern European cinema, maybe.
Definitely. And it's interesting how you say you wanted to present it through the eyes of a child, and sometimes that means very simplistic, maybe even immature, looking down, and I didn't see any of that in your film. And even the fairy tale aspect, now that you say it, I recognize it, but it felt just like a legitimate, strong story. Not even about a boy, but not childish. Definitely not. Even though it had child, it was. It's just mind-boggling.
No, it was a child,
yeah,
but maybe it's a child born and raised in a place where there is no childhood, in a way, you know, where you don't have freedom. If you think of a child, you think immediately in freedom of play, freedom of doing whatever they want. But instead of a family or a rigid house, there is a prison that is even worse. I mean, so for that reason, maybe the protagonist doesn't have this kind of happy look, but he has, in any way, naive look in order to survive with that environment.
Yeah.
He has to be naive. He has to be, in a way, with this wandering look all the time, in order to try to understand that world and the world outside that. Yeah.
Interesting that you started off with your main character. I think all of your characters are very, very vivid. We see a lot of, I'm so sorry about my pronunciation, Giacinto?
That's correct, good.
And the prison guard, they're the main ones. But
Jack,
Jack, of course, come back. But even the ones that we see in a few scenes, maybe his parents, the woman prisoner, they're still very, very vivid, but they're not in any way cliches. How did you approach to forming them so like shaped as real characters, even though you only had a few scenes with them?
Well, I'm trying to avoid cliche as much as possible.
Successfully.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm trying to talk a lot with the actors, and still, so this is one of the main reasons. I try to speak a lot with them and trying to take the best out of them for that characters. And secondarily, I think I like a lot to depict characters. So even in the writing process and the stage, I try to have some more deeper, how can I say, reasons to have them lively in a script, to go more deep in their conflicts and so on. Yeah, for that reason maybe.
Very nice. Okay, so JAILBIRD is obviously about a boy that grew up in a prison who doesn't want to leave this place that he knows as his home, right? His father figure, the prison guard, Jack, tries to force him out, but forces him into sort of a home with the priests where he is bullied. How do you see that? How does Jack see that as better for him?
But if you see the movie, Jack doesn't even know about that, and even if he knows, when he sees the blood coming down from his nose, he doesn't do anything. I mean, for him, it's like, okay, like a kid who is fighting in the streets or something like that. But in any case, that's the destiny of him, of Giacinto. I mean, getting out that world is getting out in the jungle. Mm-hmm. It's like a jungle for him. It's like a lion born in captivity that cannot survive in the world outside. That's the theme I'd like to portray for him in this movie. When you say prison is home, for him is like a cage, of course, but a cage that protects you also from... and actually, I think is a metaphor of many of us, that we are building around us cages in order to survive, simply, to avoid some difficulties or pain outside the world. And for that reason, I think, is unable to live. He's an outfitter. He cannot live, he cannot fit in the world outside.
Yeah. That's so sad suddenly.
Yeah.
For a film that is so colorful and so energetic.
Yeah,
really.
but then again, at the end of the movie, he decided to live his life outside that cage. So I think the positive message in the film is there.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely came out smiling. Okay, another very striking thing about Jailbird is there are these repeating patterns that are both the theme but also visually. It all starts, and they're very subtle. So it starts off with Giacinto leaving for freedom, but helping that lady who crashed her car and who's giving birth. We then see that he is sort of taking place in a way of his parents. His father wanted him to be a girl in a way to break off from this pattern. We see it in the director of the prison director and her father. What would you like to say about that? They're very subtle, these sort of points where we come into what our parents sort of set out for us, what our genes made out for us. Or maybe it's just my overinterpretation.
No. I'm trying to understand your question. I mean, I think, if I understood well, what I try to do is just to leave a lonely Giacinto in the world. So he has parents that doesn't, sorry the word, give a shit about him. And that's because, they are looking for their freedom, basically. And it's something that Giacinto doesn't see or doesn't want to see, and so the father is just pursuing his freedom with the meaningless, point, and for the mother is a little more, present in a way, but just because she has to stay there in the prison, but is not a good mother to him.
No.
And he doesn't realize that. He's attached to both of them, even well. The father, he doesn't know him, actually. But I think it's just the reason behind that is that because he has to survive alone in this world. And he has parents that are other kind of commitments in life. Their commitment is to find and pursue freedom. That's it.
That's an interesting point, because he has to survive alone unless he wants to go back into that circle of repeating everything. And
safer.
Yeah, it's a safe circle. Yeah. You're right. No, I could go on forever. There are so many little bits there that you can interpret in so many ways. It's like a bouquet of flowers, really. Moving on. So luckily, Giacinto, the girl, is born at the end. So hopefully there's a new dawn, a new rose flowering at the end.
Yeah, and she's born outside that cage. That's important as well. Yeah? She has maybe a different destiny instead of Giacinto, right?
Exactly. And she gets his name. So in a way, a destiny that he could or will live in the future. Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
So, just mind-boggling film. I really enjoyed it. It wouldn't be a film that I would go to, but loved it. Blew my mind. Do you think there's still place for films like this? Not just in film festivals, on TV, with audiences? Do we have people who can understand them, who are open-minded to accept movies like this? What is the future of it's not really an experimental film, but experiments like this, let's say?
Well, nice question, difficult answer to that question. I don't have the answer probably.
In your opinion?
In my opinion, times are changing a lot, and this is a challenging time. When you're trying to make a movie and express a story, I think you do it because you need to. And of course you're looking for an audience as well, because you don't do stuff for yourself. You need that somebody else watch your story and maybe try to have a dialogue, a chat about that. And this is the meaning of making movies to me. So finding an audience, I think you will always have an audience. Maybe not like in the times when where art house cinema, or in a way different kind of cinema were screened in theaters, but at the same time I know that the level now of the platform is the average level of cinema expression, but at the same time I think we will find an audience because simply we are different. We are not an algorithm. So yes, you can offer a lot of usual and same stories as much as you want, but at the end we are not the same. We are different. We were looking for something different, even in cinema. So I think an audience, even maybe a smaller one, but you can find it anyway. So I'm quite faithful in the future.
And hopeful, just like Justin. All right, thank you so much. It was beautiful talking to you.
Thank you.